Well, get ready for 2.5 hours of Wade, co-starring Knuckles the Echidna. Knuckles is about Knuckles the Echidna training Sheriff Deputy Wade Whipple in the ways of an Echidna warrior to help him win the bowling tournament in Reno, Nevada. Hello and welcome back to another review from HLHReviews. Today I will be reviewing Knuckles, the recent TV show from Paramount Plus, and the third overall installment of the Sonic Cinematic Universe. If we're gonna call it that anyway. To give you guys the background as usual, Sonic was always one of these video game franchises that pretty much defined my childhood. I would constantly play the Genesis games from the Sonic Mega Collection on the GameCube. I would constantly play both of the Sonic Adventure games as well as a few other modern ones like Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations. I was hyped for the first Sonic movie back in 2020, and I enjoyed it. Still do. I mean, even though I do have a couple of issues with that. And then 2 years later, we got Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which was one of the most exciting theater experiences I had because of
a secret research facility. It was a
Oh my God! No! No!
So when it was announced that we would be getting a Knuckles mini-series for Paramount Plus, I was excited to see where they could take the character of Knuckles as well as, to have something to hold us over until we get Sonic the Hedgehog 3 this December, which is my most anticipated movie of the year. Having watched the whole series yesterday, I can say that while I thought it was a fine, passable 2.5 hour experience, they honestly should have just called this show Wade and Knuckles because Knuckles is not the central focus of the show. Let's talk about it. And we're starting this review off by gobbling up the buckets of popcorn. The visual effects look just as good as they did in the movies. I was a bit worried since this was, made for TV, and I thought we were going to get a downgrade on the visual effects, but no, they look as good as they did in the previous two films. The cast give good performances of the characters that they're playing, including Idris Elba's Knuckles and Adam Pali's Wade Whipple. Knuckles here, he's just as funny and, has that warrior, that he had in the previous film.
Concentrate, Wolf. An attack can come from anywhere at any time. You must have steely focus. Steelier. Steelier. Steelier! Knuckles, help me!
You gonna rescue him?
No, he must learn to rescue himself.
And then you have, of course, Wade Whipple in here, and I've always liked Wade as, this comic relief character that we got from the previous two movies, as his dialogue and the way Adam Pally pulls it off never fails to get a chuckle out of me. And he does pretty good again here as the character, whether that's, his usual comic relief, or even if it's with the development that he gets as a character in this. Which we get to the development of Wade Whipple. You have Knuckles here who gets this vision from Chief Paka Kamak. It's kind of a hard name to pronounce. But he gets this vision from him that he needs to train Wade to essentially help him out winning this bowling tournament. But, he does exactly that. He helps Wade. And, he also helps him to kind of essentially stand up for himself. Especially when he goes to meet his father, Pistol Pete Whipple, who's played by Carrie Elways. I really did enjoy, seeing Wade Whipple get this development where, you had Pistol Pete abandoning him, and it's always, kind of make him a bit of a coward in a sense. I did enjoy it, even though some of it was a little bit too silly for me at times, especially for my taste. But I did like seeing the way Wade gets development here as a character, where, you know, you had his father, Pistol Pete, essentially abandoning him. And because of the relationship that he has between his mother and his sister, it's not like, you know, made him... It's essentially made him to the way he always was. And I really did enjoy seeing this because, you know, it helps, you know, to make Wade more than, you know, this dopey sheriff deputy from a small town. And now we get to the gas station burritos that will probably give me the shits right afterwards. Main one here is the humor. Now, when it gets there, it does get a chuckle out of me. Like, especially during the first episode where you see Knuckles taking out these contractors who he thinks that, you know, they're invaders. And then, you know, you have him making this gladiator match in the middle of the living room. And then, you know, eventually, you know, you see him make a throne out of car parts. So, when it's funny, you know, it's kind of like the same humor that we get in the second, or in the previous two movies, rather. But there are moments where the humor just doesn't work for me. Like, especially when we see, like, Wade argue with his sister, and the humor that he tries to go over them, not for me whatsoever. And the way they decided to portray Chief Pakakamak, again, what a fucking weird name. Now, this character was in the first Sonic Adventure game where he was the chief of this clan of echidnas where he was power hungry for the Master Emerald until everything basically went to shit as he evoked chaos, and that pretty much ended up getting him and his clan killed. Now, we don't get any of that here, nor in the second film, because they changed the lore on, you know, how the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds came to be. But what we work with here is that he was the chief of the Echidna tribe who seemingly killed Longclaw, who is Sonic's adoptive mother. He's the comedic character, and I enjoyed, you know, Christopher Lloyd's performance. I mean, it's Christopher Lloyd, same guy who, you know, played Doc Brown, Uncle Fester, and God damn it, what the hell was the villain's name in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It was Doom. I'm sure it was Doom. While I do think he serves his purpose in the show, you know, to propel Knuckles and the plot forward, it's not really the version of the character that I would have wanted. And, I mean, if we do get a movie at some point where, you know, they draw from the first Sonic Adventure game's plot, I don't know how they're going to adapt to Call and Chaos and all of that when you have this version of the character basically being a comedic character, even though the games tell a different story. And now it's time to go to the dumpster fire to throw the bad things in it. First and foremost, I did not like the villains that we get in this. You have Kid Cudi and a British girl playing these corrupt gun members who, you know, they go after Knuckles to capture him so they can take him to this guy called the Buyer, as they say, so he can get Knuckles' power. Now, Kid Cudi and, you know, the British girl's characters, they all just felt generic as side villains, and I just did not like their characters at all. And I do not like the Buyer, as, you know, he too just felt
Knuckles.
like a generic villain.
Without his little friends, he's vulnerable. He's the key to
my newest creation.
Power, which is basically the same motivation that Robotnik had in the first movie, and he's just nowhere near as interesting or even as good as a villain like Robotnik was in that film. And I did not enjoy the side characters involving Wade's mother and sister, though Wade's mother, I'll give, you know, kind of a slack because she didn't annoy me as much. Wade's sister, however, was so annoying throughout this whole show. Now, look, I'm not going to diss, you know, the actress playing her because she does good playing this character, but her character was annoying throughout the whole show. Like you have her and Wade, like, at the dinner table at this, you know, with doing this Jewish dinner where she and Wade bicker and they go at each other, and it just feels so over-exaggerated with the way the dialogue is written. I mean, oh my god, and I mean, even in the same fucking scene, that just makes no sense to me, is while these two are bickering at each other, Knuckles is not saying a fucking word, or, you know, he doesn't even try to stop the two, even to the point where she stabs Wade with the fork, which I don't understand what kind of humor that was meant to be. He doesn't do shit when that happens. Like, he's just sitting in the chair where, you know, he's just like, I want some more of that challah bread. And there's moments where we just get things that don't get explained to us. Like, the buyer managed to get a hold of the rings from the previous movies so that Kid Cudi and this British girl use on this gun member to take him to the mushroom planet, as well as, you know, to use these on Knuckles during the finale, which ends up making it their downfall. How did he manage to get a hold of them? Not explained to us. I guess it's just there for your imagination. And I did not like episode 4, where Wade has to build up his confidence, I guess, where it ends up just being a musical number out of nowhere, especially when we have Wade dressed up in like a Knuckles fursuit and he's singing like Michael Bolton. I mean, I know they gotta appeal to the younger audience, but the whole time I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck are we doing? And finally, the last thing that I'll criticize is that the finale just felt rushed as hell. The majority of this finale was spent on Wade trying to win against his father at the bowling tournament. And then you have Knuckles, who has to go fight the buyer. And that whole fight scene between Knuckles and the buyer and eventually Wade, like, it's just not really all that exciting. And it felt like I was watching an inferior version of the fight between Sonic and Robotnik at the end of the first movie. And before I wrap this video up, though this doesn't affect my viewing as much, I can understand some of the hate if you're a Sonic fan and you did not want to see the Wade character being the central focus and you wanted to see Knuckles being the central focus. I mean, I do get the disappointment, but it doesn't really affect me as much because we're still in the early stages of this franchise. And I'm sure one day, you know, we'll get movies and shows that are just strictly central focus on Sonic characters, you know, as well as Robotnik being in there as well. And another thing that I can just easily get over that is I do like the main human characters. You know, you also get a couple of the side humans like Agent Stone and especially Rachel, my spirit female. Again, this doesn't affect my viewing of this show as much, but I do get the disappointment. You know, I do get that, and I can somewhat agree that we should have gotten more of Knuckles than what we get here. So, in conclusion, I thought the show was just fine. I didn't have a horrible experience with it, and nor do I even love it. I can easily see me coming back to the show if I'm in the mood for it or if I'm binging through the franchise, but for now, it was just a fine, passable 2.5 hour experience and nothing more beyond that. To wrap this up with my rating, Knuckles can provide a fine experience for its short runtime, though the villains and the usage of its title character could have had an upgrade. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please tell me how you feel about this show down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button to see a lot more videos from me in the near future. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you can get notified every single time I upload. I hope you all have a blessed life, and in case I don't ever get to meet you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.